So to introduce our speakers to you, first up, we have Elizabeth Gore, who is the co-founder and president of Hello Alice. Hello Alice helps businesses launch and grow, and it is a free multi-channel platform powered by AI technology, which guides business owners by providing access to funding, networks, and services. Outside of the boardroom, Elizabeth is a world champion equestrian, a sprint triathlete, and has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro to raise awareness on behalf of the UN. Elizabeth is the chairwoman of the First Partner Project on behalf of the governor of the state of California. Elizabeth resides in Sonoma County with her husband, James Gore, who is a California elected official, and their two hilarious children. So welcome, Elizabeth. Joining her in conversation is going to be Carolyn Rodz, who is the co-founder and CEO of Hello Alice. Carolyn is an investment banker turned three-time award-winning Latina entrepreneur from Bolivia. During her time at Hello Alice, Carolyn was recognized as one of 17 women to watch by Inc. magazine in 2020. And she was also named Hispanic CEO of the Year by the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She has testified before the U.S. Congressional House Small Business Committee and was featured in a U.S. Senate report by Senator Shaheen entitled Tackling the Gender Gap, What Women Entrepreneurs Need to Thrive. So welcome, Carolyn. They are going to be in conversation with our own amazing Leslie Karstens, who is an enterprise account executive with Power to Fly. Leslie recently joined the Power to Fly sales team, having spent the last 15 years selling geeky products to people wearing pocket protectors, where she learned that sliding a pizza under the door is the best way to get meetings. Leslie hails from sunny Southern California, but now resides in drizzly Portland, Oregon, where she has worked tirelessly to convince Oregonians that heels are superior to Birkenstocks. I might fight you on that, Leslie. Leslie lives with her two teenage offspring and enjoys poetry and weightlifting, although not at the same time. Welcome to all three of you. I will turn the floor over to you, Leslie.
Thank you, Meg. I'm excited to be here. And I really wanted to welcome Elizabeth and Carolyn. And by the way, I have recently started my own entrepreneurial journey. So I was so excited to interview the two of you, and I was looking around your site and I just was like, my jaw just hit the floor. I wish I'd found you guys sooner, but I'd love to hear, about your journey and how you guys got here.
Sure, I can kick it off. I started off in investment banking, as was mentioned, and really jumped into entrepreneurship pretty blind, honestly. My father was an entrepreneur. My grandparents were entrepreneurs. They ran a cookie factory in Bolivia, but I really had no idea, I think, about the day-to-day of what that really meant for a business after leaving banking. And learned a lot of lessons the hard way. I ended up closing my first company down after a couple of years of spinning my wheels and realizing it was going to be a really tough way to make a living. Started a second business in the digital media space, which I ultimately sold. And then really after that, after both of those experiences, I would say, kept realizing what systemic barriers there were out there for people who weren't tapped into a network, who hadn't been exposed to how to raise capital and how to acquire customers at scale, and really thinking about how to build a scalable business. So that was really the catalyst for starting Hello Alice.
And we're still on the journey, right? That's the funniest part. I don't think the journey's ever going to end, but we're glad to be on it together. So my background was actually with humanitarian. I was with Peace Corps and then the UN for almost 10 years at the UN Foundation. And within that, I was very passionate about once the UN left or once societies were getting back on their feet, the most important thing was to ensure that small businesses could succeed, particularly those owned by women. And when I got home, I saw how critical it was here in the US as well, and got super passionate about how are we helping entrepreneurship overall as an ecosystem, how are we helping small business owners, and was incredibly lucky to meet this lady. And we're really lucky to be sitting side by side on the same screen for once. But we both just connected on the vision that if we gave complete access to small business owners, particularly who we call the new majority, women, people of color, the LGBTQ plus community, entrepreneurs with disabilities, our US veterans, that we would see a completely different country, a different economy. So, and what got me excited about Carolyn is she just kept talking about the upside. So I was at Dell Technologies as an entrepreneur residence and had run into Carolyn a few times, and she just kept talking not about the problems, but the huge opportunities facing women and people of color in this arena. So we joined forces, and we time everything by our kids. We both have 2 kids, around 6 and 9. And it took each of us having 2 kids and building a business. And now here we are.
Wow. Well, I'd love to get more into the nitty gritty, and learn, like, what is it that Hello Alice does to make that journey for entrepreneurs easier?
Well, the thing I learned through both of my experiences was how much so many of the factors around both who you are as a business owner and the type of company that you're trying to run impact the journey of what running that business and launching that business actually looks like. And so we knew there was a need to make the process that's really dynamic, to take into account all of these factors around the owner and their business, and to incorporate those into a milestone by milestone path through launching and growing your company. So Hello Alice says, here's the next best step for your business, but also here are all the tools, networks, resources that you need to execute on that step before you move on to the next. And so it really breaks it down, I think, into kind of digestible pieces, these really complex or seemingly complex processes, into the most simplistic format, but also into a format that is relevant to your business. Because you can imagine the experience for a Black female veteran building a tech company in Houston is very different from a white male veteran running a manufacturing company in New York. How they hire their employee is going to vary based on the state they live in. What type of capital they can access is going to vary based on the industry they're in. So there's all these factors that are influencing how they should operate and at what stage they should tackle certain milestones.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, I'm sure as you guys started on this journey, you faced your own challenges and obstacles. Any of those you'd like to share?
Every day. Every day.
Yeah.
I mean, like probably most business owners, access to capital is always the hardest thing. And whether that's in a growth time or a tough time like 2020. And Carolyn and I bootstrapped this thing together years and years ago. And we, I'll always not shy away from, us being a woman and Latina owned business. You have to run a little bit harder, I think, than some of our male counterparts. And then also we really are investing in what was previously seen as a high risk community or an unprofitable community. So we were thought of as a social good company, which I'm proud of that. But at the same time, we really wanted to show that by working towards and working for small business owners that were in this new majority, that's a very profitable endeavor. So, that early capital was super tough. Also, we were with babies and trying to figure all this out and the risks that you take around that. I will say we were super lucky to have each other. So we always really encourage, if you can find co-founders, if you can find a team that balances your strengths and weaknesses, that is always incredibly helpful. Or if you're a single founder, really think about that first hire being a partner of sense. So, and it's interesting because small business owners are very hard to reach and acquire. So we really had to learn that it took community, not just a great software, to provide a safe space for all of them to come in. So of the nearly 500,000 small business owners we support, they're all supporting each other every day. So this interesting mix between, e-learning platform that's data-driven, helping every small business owner with their individual journey, but also the ability for them to connect with other people in their industry or their geography, or maybe other Latinas or other veterans who've just been home 3 years trying to build a business. So, there's the technical side that's difficult about the business. There's the funding side. And then, entrepreneurship, 1 minute it's freaking amazing and you're on this high, and then we're crying 10 minutes later. And, we just closed our Series B. And
congratulations.
Well, wow. Thank you. But, there's challenges and obstacles at every stage. So I think it's really important to celebrate the wins along the way.
Yeah, I hear that. I think you hit on something interesting about the community, and, like any good relationship is built on trust and respect. So I'd love to hear how you guys keep that, how you ensure that the people in that community can trust each other.
Yeah, this is something that is so key to the way I think just the culture of our company and the way that we build everything. But our owners sit at the center of everything. We don't call them users on our platform, we call them owners. We always want to remind ourselves that they are individual humans with unique stories that have risked a lot to start these companies. And I think that comes partly from both of our experiences. Yeah. Elizabeth seeing just at a macro level how this impacted societies and cultures and what that meant even at an individual level within those communities. Myself, obviously having lived through shutting a company down and the difficulties of that experience and what that actually means to, put a bunch of money on your credit card and risk that personally. It's incredibly scary, but also exciting. And there's this optimism that exists within the community. And so I think we're always making sure that our team is fully exposed to the individual stories that sit inside that, we have obviously that number of 500,000, but every single one of those individuals has something so unique to their own experience that we're trying to bring out and highlight and lift up in any way that we can. And then also just through ongoing events, we're constantly pulling in like micro groups together of 30 or 50 or 100 people to have conversations and to understand. Obviously, we have a ton of data through the platform, but to understand the stories behind that data.
Okay, I love it. I love it. And the timing is so interesting, right? We had 2020 and, everything was in a nosedive and now everything's, going straight up. So, just if we stop and take a snapshot of where we're at today, how does that, how do you factor that in, or what would your advice be to entrepreneurs like today?
We're telling everyone to be very cautious and smart about their cash flow, about how fast they're rebuilding, how fast they're rehiring. We still have some unknowns coming ahead of us. I mean, the state of California this morning just remandated masks, for example. And so at their capital, and it might flow, but we have variants coming, there's different things. And so just because, let's just say your shop is completely allowed to open tomorrow, be very smart about what's the customer behavior. When are they actually going to walk in? When are folks going to start consuming again? I think back to school is going to be a really interesting time to see what schools are open, what childcare is available to our small business owners. So I would say, no matter what your business plan is, just be very smart and reassess it, I would say every couple of weeks, and ensure that you're being really smart about your cash flow. Diversify it, be as tight as possible. Don't start spending too fast yet. And then we're doing the same thing. I mean, this is a really interesting time. And if anyone does have a crystal ball, would love to meet them. But, being nimble is always important. That's why small business owners are so resilient. You're seeing a lot of optimism because they're amazing. They want to succeed. Even those who had to completely close their business, like Carolyn, are rethinking of new business ideas, which is great. But I do think it's a time to be incredibly frugal, very smart about your rehires, and then really talk to your customers, listen to them, understand what is the new normal with their behavior.
And a focus. At the end of the day, it's staying so focused on a vision that doesn't waver. I think lots of times when I see people struggle, it's the big picture keeps changing. And I think you can't change you can change and need to change constantly, or the tactics, but learn what works at a moment in time, keep double down and keep chipping away at that and making it better and stronger. And then constantly be innovating and introducing tactics and strategies that help to achieve that vision. That's how you always stay one step ahead of anybody else who's trying to catch up from behind.
Yeah. So as you guys look out to the future, whatever that looks like, how do you think about the evolution of Hello Alice and the platform and the community?
Well, we and many of our business owners, we think next year is going to be the year for small business. 2022, I think, is going to be really interesting. And part of it is because when people come through crisis, they learn so much. They're so resilient. We're seeing major digital transformation with small business owners starting to use software more. That software spend's going up. They're doing a better job on e-commerce and payments. I mean, you're just seeing things that had to happen to survive. But then also there's this political will and community fervor about how amazing small business owners, which we've been yelling from the rooftops forever. But now when you realize your childcare, your cup of coffee, your accountant, I mean, every
the Power to Fly community. And of course, we're working primarily and representing primarily job seekers. So I was interested in, kind of what advice you might have to people who are, working a day job, whether they're looking to move or not, but then maybe looking to spin up a side hustle and eventually start down that entrepreneurial path. How's that, in other words, how's it different than someone doing it full time?
Well, it's how almost all of us started. I mean, 2/3 of women, for example, in corporate America have been thinking and are thinking about starting their own business, which is so exciting.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. And then the same thing, both of us had full-time jobs going into building Hello Alice. And then Carolyn took a big risk for us and went all in while I kept my day job. It is completely normal. I mean, I think I'll quote you, Carolyn's always like, just start. Whether you're starting at night or in the morning or in pajamas or after the kids go to bed, just try it. And the other thing I love is partnership. So also seek out, go on hellos.com in our communities and seek out if there is a business that you're really passionate about. Somebody might also be passionate about that idea and you all can merge like we did. But you always say just start.
Yeah, I think the luxury of the side hustle is that you don't have the pressures, right? You don't have to worry about the bills at that moment. You don't have to worry about speed to market. It takes so much time. It takes more time and more money for any company than you ever imagine.
Yeah.
So let that sort of like nurture itself. I think when you have paycheck coming in, I think it's a great way to start a company. Also, it really shows yourself how much passion do you have for this business, because if you aren't excited to come home from work and jump into whatever you're thinking about starting, you're not excited to wake up on Saturday morning and think about this company, you're going to hit tough times in the future, and that passion is only gonna wane a little bit as you get into some of those struggles. So it's got to be so strong and prevalent at the beginning.
The other thing I would say for your job seekers in the Power to Fly community is most small businesses and startups are hiring right now. So it also might be exciting to get into a ground level business as they're growing. And that's a great experience to have. We've had a lot of wonderful employees go and start their own companies, which is, the coolest thing in the world. So that's another thing to think about is if you're not quite ready, maybe go into a newer company and just learn from that growth, learn from the hustle, learn from the mistakes. Everyone's hiring right now. I mean, it's actually a bit of a crisis in a good way. So I would really take a look at that and see if there's somebody you admire, like a founder you've seen before, seek out their company. It might be a cool time to jump in there.
We're hiring too. So
oh my gosh.
Check out.
Marketing, engineering, sales. We prioritize diversity. So bring it on, please. Alice@hellos.com.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be one of my next questions is how do people find you? How do they reach you?
Well, primarily hellos.com. Join us, join a community, get to know other owners, join one of our sprints,
and regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or not, everybody has expertise to offer to the community. So really encourage all of you to check it out and see how you can either start your business or contribute to a business in some way.
And at the bottom of our website, you'll see the jobs page. So please let us know if you're interested in a job or pass those along to your friends. Most importantly is to support your small businesses, please.
Yeah.
Go in there, tell them they're doing great, support them, promote them on your social media. We'd really appreciate that.
Yeah. I've gotten to where I won't mention any names, but I'm trying to order, much more from local businesses than anybody else. Yeah. What other advice do you have for, maybe, and again, we have primarily job seekers, but, what would your advice be to them just sort of in general about maybe managing their careers? I'm sure you guys are in a great position to talk about that too. You both had amazing careers.
Well, I'm going to share the superpower of my co-founder, which is building a strong network. And I think the importance of leveraging that network in any capacity for yourself or for one another, but following up quickly and efficiently with that network and making sure that you're sharing your wins, sharing your struggles. I think the transparency of those relationships and the speed of response and information that you're providing proactively is so important. That is something I've learned from Elizabeth, because I think she is a world-renowned expert in that department.
And the other thing is go outside the vertical you're in. So I've been in public. So I've been at UN, I've been in private with Dell. I've been a nonprofit, and it might be interesting to see. I think this generation has the cool luxury of going across verticals. And I think that brings great experience to have different types, because we all engage with all sectors, no matter what you think about it. So the other thing is the job you're in, to Carolyn's point, make sure to soak every piece of learning. So if you're at JP Morgan Chase right now working, make sure you try and meet all different levels of that company, different geographies. I mean, sometimes your network can be exactly where you are, and pull that in, and then always give back to your network. It's important that, you know, you're sharing ideas and focusing. And the last thing I'll say right now is a lot of people are still in isolation. And I just say, even though we have Zoom fatigue, still try and reach out, like this Power to Fly event, you know, listen to people, get out of your own head, out of your own environment. It's, I think, important to make sure our mental health, we're not just stuck in one spot right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I'd like to double click on something you were talking about, because I think most of us, we know we should be networking, but we're still not very good at it. So could you get a little bit more tactical? Like, what is it like, you know, are there daily practices, weekly practices, you know, like, in other words, you know, what does it look like when you're taking the time to do that outreach? And are there events, or is it just one-off type engagement?
Both, and I'm big on calendaring. So yeah, you can set an objective to where there's 2 30-minute time slots in your calendar, and no matter what, you're using those to network. And it might be that you've reached out and asked someone to have a virtual cup of coffee during that time. It might be that you're joining one of these events at that time, but then it holds you accountable. Even though I guess, good at networking, I'm not a natural extrovert. And so I look at it as a task sometimes. And then to Carolyn's point, I think follow-up is so critical. I'm still a handwritten person, but, you know, thank you for your time. Here's some ideas for you. And then at the end of every conversation, always asking for a couple of more names or contacts. I think it's crazy.
I love that.
Yeah. So if you're on right now, I'd be like, Leslie, by the way, is there a couple other people you think I should reach out to and chat with? And I think that's important.
That's
I also, I think looking at relationships, as so many times I think people go into networking with an objective in mind. And I think sometimes it's just building the relationship, like just having genuine curiosity for what someone's story is and where they're coming from. And that's when I think the things start to emerge about what else they're up to, what projects they have going on, and these connections that you would never anticipate. I mean, how many times have we had somebody like an enterprise contract that is a huge game changer for us, and it just so happens that one of us had crossed paths with somebody 10 years before, and now they're a decision maker for a contract that we're up for. And so you never know where those things come back. And so I think if you just work it into your life, like every time I walk into a business, I'm asking to talk to the owner, and how did the company start, and why did they start, and those conversations just spark interesting things.
And the last thing I'll just say is push yourself outside of what's comfortable. So, ensuring that your network does not necessarily look like you, don't sound like you, just ensuring that, both diversity of ethnicity, thought, gender, and industry, I think is really important. So you're stretching who you're talking with.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And Carolyn, you were cracking me up. You made me think as you were talking that of the importance of being interested and not being interesting. I think we get focused on the wrong thing sometimes.
I think it gets so much easier, right? The more you start just having conversations with people, the more, and you learn too, like where might there be an opportunity and connection that is more genuine and relevant versus where it might not be. We can't obviously stay connected with everyone all the time, but really understanding how to sort of filter and build and improve your network.
Yeah. Any other places other than the Hello Alice website you'd like people to reach out to you? Are you guys super active on the socials?
We're both easy. Carolyn Rodz and Elizabeth Gore on Twitter, Instagram, and we love meeting founders. It's definitely our favorite thing. We went last weekend. We hit this farmers market where we're at and met, I think, every founder there and heard their stories and learned how we could help them with a very net new society. And But so we love to conversate personally as well. So reach out on Twitter. And I did want to give a shout out to those of you who are looking for funding. We have a funding center on Hello Alice right now because cash flow is so difficult, and we are mining and navigating public funding, private funding, mostly grants that you're not going to have to pay around loans. So check out the funding center on Hello Alice. It's, I think, critically important again right now that we're all, I know we have application fatigue, but that you are applying for grants.
And that's just at funding.helloalice.com.
So we'll help you with, yeah, and we'll guide you through the process. So if it's a state grant, for example, we can help you. We have translation services in Spanish. We are always deploying grants from Hello Alice as well. So I just really want to encourage folks as you're getting back on your feet, or you're just getting started, to really look at the funding center.
Yeah, I love it. Ladies, thank you so much. This has been amazing. And I love the work you guys do.
And thanks
Leslie.
to the Power to Fly community.
Thanks.
All right, I just want to say a big thank you to the women from Hello Alice, as well as Leslie, for hosting that amazing chat. Thank you both so much.